Hello. Today, stop looking at me like that. Today, we're going to discuss chapter one of David Deida's The Way of the Superior Man. Chapter one is Stop Hoping for a Completion of Anything in Life. So just feel free to interrupt anytime you have anything to add. Most men make the error of thinking that one day it will be done. They think if I can work enough, then one day I could rest. Or one day my woman will understand something and she will stop complaining. Or I'm only doing this now so that one day I can do what I really want with my life. The masculine error is to think that eventually things will be different in some fundamental way. They won't. It never ends. As long as life continues, the creative challenge is to tussle, play, and make love with the present moment while giving your unique gift.
The one thing I like to add to that is that I agree with that a lot of men live for completion. And it's kind of be like being a basketball player and living to win an NBA championship or something like that, kind of like the ultimate title. And I don't think that's the best way to live it. Like the best way to live it is to actually enjoy. You mean the practice, enjoy the games. I think there was a quote from some kind of like professional manager, and he's like, "My favorite day is when we win, like managing a game where we win, and my second favorite day is managing a game where we lose." So it's like even you mean losing's not ideal. It's like you still want to enjoy that process, and it's like especially if you're in NBA, so you have to enjoy the process of like doing sponsor deals, seeing fans, all these kind of things. And it's like it's not that the completion's ever going to change anything, and most times you're actually going to be depressed once you actually achieve your goals. But it's like what you want to find is that enjoyment of the process of.
I agree. Yeah. And because my masculine side is very strong, so I fall into that trap a lot. And I think of like guys I met in the past and how they want to do financial freedom as their goal, but they end up being very miserable in the work that they're doing. And it's a very unattractive energy compared to people who are loving and making the best out of their life right now.
Yeah, it's not that there's anything wrong with the goal of financial freedom, just like there's not anything wrong with the goal of winning the NBA championship, but it's kind of sacrificing the present for the future. And it's like you want to be doing work that you enjoy today that's kind of making you better, as well as having the goal of that financial freedom on the back end too. Yeah, keep reading.
Yes, sir. Oh boy, this chapter's a little longer than I thought. Okay. It's never going to be over, so stop waiting for the good stuff. I agree with that. There's always going to be another goal that comes up. As of now, spend a minimum of 1 hour a day doing whatever you are waiting to do until your finances are more secure, or until the children have grown and left home, or until you have finished your obligations and you feel free to do what you really want to do. Don't wait any longer. Don't believe in the myth of one day when everything will be different. Do what you love to do, what you are waiting to do, what you've been born to do now. I think that's very interesting because I always fall into that trap. Um, and spending an hour a day of doing because I always put it off. 'Cause it's like, oh, when I retire, then that's when I'm gonna start this meetup group, or that's when I'm going to, um, I don't know, really love my life.
I think part of the things we put off are things that aren't really meant for us. Like they're not really well suited for us. And so we kind of have these dreams in the back of our heads, but they don't really make sense. Like kind of like my idea of going and approaching girls at the gym and stuff like that is it's just not my natural temperament, not really what I want to be doing with my time. But I kind of have this goal. It's like, oh, that should be me. And then same thing for you. It's like starting this meetup group. It's like I think starting a meetup group is for a presidential leader, somebody who is comfortable taking that responsibility, making things happen, comfortable having failure on their backs. And so I think part of it's tricky because some it's we put off goals that aren't naturally well suited for us, but then also we have things that we are should be doing, like art for you. It's like something that you get a lot of pleasure and enjoyment from, but don't necessarily make the time for. And even this podcast too. It's like this is something that we could kind of put off forever. It's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
we need to get life together, all this kind of stuff. But it's like really, it's just you just got to sit down and start doing it, and it'll be kind of not very good for the first 50, 100, whatever it is. But it's just getting the reps in.
Yep. Spend at least 1 hour a day doing whatever you simply love to do, what you deeply feel you need to do in your heart, in spite of the daily duties that seem to constrain you. However, be forewarned. You may discover that you don't or can't do it, that in fact your fantasy of your future life is simply a fantasy.
That's what kind of was saying is that a lot of these things we put off, they were not actually wanting to do it. Like we actually got it. It's like, oh yeah, that's not what I want.
Mm, yep. He articulates it very well.
Mm-hmm.
Most postponements are excuses for a lack of creative discipline. Limited money and family obligations have never stopped a man who really wanted to do something, although they provide excuses for a man who is not really up to the creative challenge in the first place. Find out today whether you are willing to do what it takes to give your gift fully. As a first step, spend at least an hour today giving your fullest gift, whatever that is for today, so that when you go to sleep at night, you know you couldn't have lived your day with more courage, creativity, and giving.
So I'll add to that. So I worked for an oil company for a couple of weeks out in eastern Alberta, and it was long days, like 12-hour days or something like that. But with that, I also I had this bigger goal of being a business owner, being a marketer, because I knew that the oil industry wasn't really what I wanted to be. And so I like for a few of those days I woke up early and I like read different marketing books and I wrote marketing letters and stuff like that. And I think it's just excuses for the most part. It's like you can make things happen if you're actually like designed to do them. I think it's tricky because you can easily get caught up in wanting to follow somebody else's path. Like YouTube, I think is a big example of that. Is that we tend to get caught up seeing our favorite YouTubers and then want to kind of live. What's up?
You want to get some water? That's okay. I tried to look at you, but it's just so bad. Uh, I'm not quite sure if it's coming from your shirt or your breath. Something. I think it's slightly better.
Go girl.
Okay, let me pause this. I'll just cut that part out. Am I recording? Oh, yes, I am. Yes. Sure. Okay, we actually only did 8 minutes. Okay, cool. You were saying about the oil company?
Yeah, so I was working for the oil company and kind of making my dreams happen. And I think we mostly have these excuses about why we don't do things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, even if you have, lots going on, I think you can still make 15 minutes to an hour,
Mm-hmm.
like at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day. Beginning of the day, I think is a lot easier than the end of the day. But it's like you get up 15 minutes earlier, and it's like, okay, I want to be a writer, so I'm going to spend 15 minutes writing, or it could be even reading about writing. It doesn't really matter what. But I think it's also good to be open and recognize that, like, because I was talking about with YouTube, is that we tend to idolize certain people, like celebrities, NBA players, YouTubers, whatever it is. But that path might not be for you. So, like, one of the things for me was copywriting, is like that's what I was doing in those mornings at the oil company. But I'm not really a copywriter. Like, I can do it, but it's not something that I'd want to be doing for hours a day and stuff like that. Much more interested in business or leadership and stuff like that. So you want to kind of combine making that time to do these things that you have the dreams of, but then get the feedback and recognize which things don't actually jive with who you are and what you're doing and stuff like that, and kind of continually adjust.
I'll also add something to that. Um, I won't name the specific jobs, but there are jobs that I've been miserable at, and and then when I come home, I just like play games to escape, and then repeat it all the next day. And If I spent if I actually spent time thinking about what I really want in life and what makes me excited and what my greatest gift is, and I spent an hour or even 15 minutes doing that, I would be a lot less miserable. I'd feel I'm more my purpose, and I wouldn't, waste that time. In addition to the myth that one day your life will be fundamentally different, you may believe and hope that one day your woman will be fundamentally different. Don't wait. Assume she's going to be however she is forever. If your woman's behavior or mood is truly intolerable to you, you should leave her and don't look back, since you cannot change her. However, if you find her behavior or mood is distasteful or a hassle, realize that she will always seem this way. The feminine always seems chaotic and complicated from the perspective of the masculine.
Mm-hmm. And so that's a very tricky one because, like, I remember my relationship. She was an amazing girl and great chemistry and stuff like that. But one of the things that was a real struggle is like I'm all into personal growth and development, and she would love to hear my ideas, but never actually did anything or never actually changed her life on it. And it was rough because you mean it's like it's so much better for me to be around people who are growing and learning and teaching me and having new experiences, getting better themselves. Um, and I think in a lot of sense, you have to be able to be willing to let go of what you have and potentially go without for an extended period of time in order to get to that next level and to get to that kind of thing that you're actually wanting. But it's a tough trade off.
Mm-hmm. I don't think of anything common because I never had a woman. Okay. The next time you notice yourself trying to fix your woman so that she will no longer blank,
Can I make it full screen?
oops doodles. Oh no, now everyone will see all my other stuff that I was doing.
Should we bring more attention to all the other stuff you're doing?
Relax and give her love by touching her and telling her that you love her when she is this way, whatever you filled the blank in with. Embrace her or wrestle with her or scream and yell for the heck of it, but make no effort to bring an end to that which pisses you off. Practice love instead of trying to bring an end to the quality that bothers you. You can't escape the tussle with the feminine. Learn to find humor in the unending emotional drama the feminine seems to enjoy so much. The love that you magnify may realign her behavior, but your effort to fix her and your frustration never will.
I think women are emotional addicts. And so what they're looking for is to push any buttons, like they're looking to find any buttons that men have and push them. And so most men get infuriated by this and try to change the woman and my way or the highway kind of strategy. And I just think it's a very childish mentality for that. And what I try to do is like, it's like, okay, like, so Stephanie's doing some weird stuff or poking some buttons for me, calling me like the Michelin man or stuff like that. And at first I try to observe. It's like, hey, this poked me. And then it's like, how can I get rid of that button myself and get over my emotional attachment or reaction to it? And then that naturally deals with it, naturally goes away. Whereas I've kind of seen guys in my fraternity who one guy got teased about his sister being hot and stuff like that, and it just sent him into an instant rage. And so by process of that, he just got teased like 10 times more. Where it's like, if somebody did that to me, it's like, yeah, whatever. And it's like, it just would never come up again because they don't have that emotional drive. So it's like, you want to change yourself, not your woman. And she'll actually change based on that. It's like, as you change, her reaction to you will also change.
Yeah, exactly. So that's this last line. Your effort to fix her and your frustration, will never realign her behavior and just make it worse. Like
Yeah.
I stop poking you when that button no longer gets a reaction. Okay, that's not fun anymore. So I never like call you fat anymore. Well, you're also not fat anymore.
If it was a button, you still do it.
The world and your woman will always present you with unforeseen challenges. You're either living fully, giving your gift in the midst of these challenges, even today, or you are waiting for an imaginary future, which will never come. Men who have lived significant lives are men who never waited, not for money, security, ease, or woman. Feel what you want to give most as a gift to your woman and to the world, and do what you can to give it today. Every moment waited is a moment wasted, and each wasted moment degrades your clarity of purpose.
Yeah, for me, it definitely speaks or hits home. It's like I've had a lot of different goals throughout my life, but I think one of the primary ones was to be a business owner. Kind of seeing my dad be a business owner and then my grandparents and stuff like that. But I wanted to do it better because I had like seen the whole kind of employee life, and it just seemed like a life that wasn't well suited for me. Like the idea of going for 40-hour work weeks and stuff like that and listening to a boss is just not what I'm good at. And it's, I think a lot of people kind of wait for the idea of starting a business. It's like, oh, I have to have like $50,000, $100,000 in savings, and I have to have my house paid off, or all these X number of things. And it's like when I started my first business, I was freaking broke, and I was broke through most of the time of starting my business, going and working for somebody else and stuff like that. But having that experience of 5 or 10 years of learning business, learning marketing, all these kind of skills, that's kind of what has made it so that I'm relatively successful in my business now, and kind of living this life. And the financial success probably won't come for another 5 or 10 years, but it's like I've been living my purpose or my mission for the last, 5, 10 years, however long it's been. And it's just been an enjoyable process, but it's like not something that you can necessarily get all your ducks in a row for planning to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Anything else you'd like to add, Stephanie?
I just feel like the more I read this book, the harder it is to find a guy
Mm-hmm.
because there's so many that are, I guess, postponing, like
Mm-hmm.
living in hopes of an imaginary future that they think will fulfill them, but rather than like living life to the fullest now. Um,
I think that what we're doing right now can help deal with that. That again, most people, for the most part, aren't going to do anything with their lives. Like 85%, I kind of look at it as just like, yeah, there's not much that can be done for them. But that 5 to 15% who's willing to take action, by us helping to create these videos and to create like a school for men and kind of clarify these topics, we could be potentially creating that better world. And you might not be able to get it yourself, kind of like Moses wasn't able to get to the promised land himself, but it doesn't make it any less worthwhile doing the process, in my opinion.
I agree. I enjoy this and I really like this book.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you, my wonderful guest. Well, that's a wrap, folks. Again, this is Step and this is Trent.